Yeah, let's go, baby. The boys is back. We're back again. Hold that. Yeah, hold that, Arsenal. Just wanted to put that in there. But yeah, we're back, baby. Game week number 4, I believe. Oh, 3. Raw.
Three.
Okay. Game week 3. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's that excitement of that comeback, baby. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But yeah, man. It's your boy Luke here with my co-host Abdallaini. Obviously, spit the truth, Abdallah. How did you feel over your weekend, fam? Over last week, how did you feel this week?
To be honest, it was a great weekend because my team played on Friday. We won, so all I got to do for the rest of the weekend is hate on hate on the rivals. Anyone who dropped points, I was around. but yeah, no, it was a good. It was a good weekend. For the first time, I've seen my team play some good football and actually get the 3 points. We'll talk about the games later. Obviously, outside of football, we went to All In, the
Oh
big
yeah,
wrestling
baby.
event. Yeah,
Oh
I got the
yeah,
I got the acclaim thing was behind me, and yeah, man, that was fun as well. So yeah, no, it
yeah.
was a good weekend. I ain't gonna lie to you. Obviously, bank holiday, carnival. Be safe out there. Man saw people with with Rambos and all sorts. So yeah, it was a long weekend.
I saw one little man, yeah, get rubbing his willy on one thing that's on the floor, fam. And my man was some little thing, fam. People are just wilding down there, man.
Yeah,
It's funny, bruv. Like after COVID, you would have thought like the vibe, the atmosphere would have changed in it, but like everyone's still moving raggle and just wild as normal, man. Nothing's really changed. So obviously, like carnival's not really the same like how it was back in the day, but at the end of the day, people are still enjoying themselves. So yeah, man. It's all good. But speaking of enjoying themselves, obviously, game week 3, and I want to talk about my team. Yeah, we got screwed again. That was a BS red card that shouldn't have happened to Van Dijk. He won the ball, and I just don't know what's going on. It's like there's an agenda against Liverpool. Like the McAllister one wasn't a red, it got overturned. This time, the Van Dijk wasn't a red, but it looks like he's going to get an extension just because he said the decision was a joke. What's wrong with him speaking up and saying that? Like, I just feel like like the refs are just trying to hold Liverpool back. They're trying to hold us down because these two decisions are just mind blowing. I just don't get it. Like it's like you can't go in for a challenge anymore. That's what it feels like. And for me, yeah, we started off slow in that game. Newcastle had some really good chances. They put us under the caution. You know, if Almiron was on top form in that game, he probably would have scored at least 2 goals and Newcastle would have won that game. But we always say this on the pod: if you don't put your chances away, it's gonna come back to bite you in the butt, and that's what happened. You know, a tactical change happened, and Darwin Nunes was on a pitch, and 2 goals of the same similar fashion, and yeah, he just came on and he really, he really changed the game for us. And for me, I feel like that's gonna kickstart his career in a sense of this season. He had a fantastic preseason under his belt. I'm still struggling as to understand why Klopp isn't starting him. But for me, you got to play the guy. You paid 60 M's for the guy. Like, you got to play him. He's proven now that he's adapted well and he's adjusted to the Premier League. You know, he's got the English under his belt. You know, play the guy. He's ready to go. We need the goals. And at the end of the day, if we're still struggling to bring players in and our defense is at a position whereby we're not looking to bring anyone in, then bring on a striker that's going to make the game a you score, I score type of battle. Because at the end of the day, strikers win you games as well as the midfield. We've got the midfield, we've got the attack. Yes, the defense needs some reconstructing, but if we've got a guy that can bag at least 20 goals a season, play the guy. And for me, it was a fantastic game of football. It was the type of game that it would be classed as a top of the table clash if it was one. And for me, Newcastle are going places. They are, and they haven't even spent at will yet. And I feel like once they maintain a top four status over the next couple years, players are obviously going to start looking at Newcastle as maybe the place where they should be going for their career. And then it's going to be scary hours for the rest of the team. I don't want to take away anything from that game. They were phenomenal, and on a different day, they probably should have won that game. If I'm being honest, I'm not going to be biased and sit here and be like, yeah, we should have won the game. They had more chances, they had more shots on target, and they dominated us. But at the end of the day, when it comes to big teams dig deep and they grind out the win. And that's the difference between Newcastle and Liverpool. Liverpool are a big team that dug dug deep and got the job done. Newcastle are a big team, but at the same time, they just couldn't get the job done. And yeah, we've got 6 days to go. Well, 3 days actually. We've got 3 days to go to the transfer window, and I'm hoping we can secure a midfielder and a centre back if possible. But Marjorie, I want to know what your thoughts was of the game. Did you enjoy the game as well? And what was your thoughts on both teams?
Personally, I think starting off, Newcastle were the better team, and that's what led to the goal. I think Anthony Gordon has had a revival in his career under Newcastle. I think I think more needs to be said about how Eddie Howe are getting these players and getting them to play such football as well. Like what he did for Joe Linton last season, what he's doing for Anthony Gordon. They've got a lot of talent on that team, and I think their midfield was stronger than yours overall. And I think they dominated that battle. Then they got the goal. But I think that red card changes things because I think the one thing that Liverpool are great at more than any other team in the country is counter-attacking football. And because of that, and because you're down to 10 men, you do what you do best. You just have to soak up the pressure, soak up the pressure, soak up the pressure. And then in the last 10 minutes, you get someone like Nunes who's just lightning fast. And the great thing about his two finishes were these were the finishes last season. He was scuffing wide, doing nonsense, not finishing his dinner. It was just clinical. It was clinical, and that's the thing. That's the thing about the Premier League is that if you as Newcastle don't take your chances, and they were very naive with the ball as well. They were very naive in the way they played against 10 men, and even though it wasn't a red card, and the incidents after that, him being charged is going to be a problem for Liverpool in the long run because that's a couple games up without Van Dijk, without Kanate. It's going to be a long couple games for Liverpool. Luckily, the international break is coming around, so hopefully Kanate can get back after that. But yeah, next game's going to be difficult. But in that game particularly, Nunes came on, and I think that's where he's best at. I think he's great as an impact sub. The thing about your attack is that you've got 4 or 5 attackers that don't need to start. They can just come on and make something happen. So for me, I just think the midfield and the defense is something you need to sort out. I was thinking about it, and these rumors around Salah. And I think if I'm Liverpool, if you're saying that you only have a certain amount of money in your budget, if I was Liverpool, I would sell Salah and then bring in 3 players and use the money, use the wages that you're going to get off of him, bring in another right wing, bring in a midfielder, DM, and bring in another centre back. And with that money, you can get Gonçalo Inácio, the Portuguese guy you were talking about. If you need a winger, Rafinha is available. Barcelona need the P's, so they'll take 78 M's. They'll say yes. That's a winger. He's Brazilian. He can be around his buddies. Someone who can fill the void of Salah. And when he was in the Premier League, he was with Cold. And then you just need another DM because I think Endo is not good enough for to be starting in the league, and I think you need a starting DM. And for me, I would try go big, try go for like Kimmich, try go for like someone who can actually, make a difference. And I think he's a kind of player that maybe wants a new challenge, and the Premier League can be that new challenge. So DMs like that of that kind of ilk, I think if you sell Salah and spend 70 to 80 million on 3 different players with the money that you get from Salah plus the 100 M's you already have, I think you can actually create a team that could challenge Man City this season with the style of football you're playing. Because the thing that's letting you down is that it's so easy to go through you defensively that that you concede goals, but your attack is frightening. So if you can get those two players without selling Salah, that's a good thing. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think you have that kind of money. So I would sell him. That's 350K off the wage bill, and you can get three players on 100K each that will be willing to play for your club. And I think that's what you need to do. And even if you go for Crystal Palace or Lise, because he has a new clause in his contract, I think it's like 70 M's as well. So even someone like him for Prem proven, you could go for someone like him or even someone like that. So yeah, I think Liverpool need to really think hard about what they do with the Salah situation. I think if you sell him soon as possible and use it to get those three players that you need, the right replacement for him, CM and CB, CDM and CB, I think your team will be great for this season without Salah. And I think it might be his time to go because you're not going to win the league with him and you're not going to win the Champions League or you're not in the Champions League. So I think it might be the right time for him to go. So that's what I think about Liverpool. But overall, great game. Newcastle were unlucky, but that this is what the Premier League is about. If you don't take your chances, it happened to us last week against West Ham. You get punished, and that's what happened. Last 10 minutes, Nunes decided to be a killer. I don't know, man. Maybe he woke up on the right side of the bed. Maybe he had a good breakfast or something. He decided that he wanted. He said, "Not today. I'm around." And man came in with a two-gun shot, straight to David Moyes' head and won the game for Liverpool. So, man, I was surprised because we were out and outside, and we didn't have no connection. And I saw 1-0 with red card. I was like, what? No, not Van Dyke, not Mister Aura getting sent off, and then 2-1, and then seeing the highlights and seeing the actual game back. I don't think it was a red card, and I think justice was served in essence that Liverpool won the game. But even though overall you would probably say it would should have been like a draw.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do want to add though, I don't know if selling Salah now would be the right time, just because we're taking away at least 20 to 30 goals out of the
Mm.
team, as well as probably close to 20 assists as well. So I think so close towards the end of the window, I don't think I would risk it and do that. But I do feel like it is time for him to leave, probably the end of the season. I just feel like we're probably wasting his prime years with the lack of ambition with the owners. And I wouldn't begrudge him if he was to leave, because he's done a lot to deserve going to a Muslim nation which appreciates his culture. And I feel like next season, you know, you I don't even know the guy, but next season you have my blessing to leave. I know that for a fact. So yeah, but speaking of which, we'll move on to your club, your team. Man, regardless of the opponent, and yeah, it was Luton, but the football that you guys are playing, and I said it in the last pod, the football that you guys are playing is so good. It's just a breath of fresh air to see a Chelsea team finally play positive football as opposed to negative football. We've seen it with Conte, we've seen it with Mourinho. It's just dry, it's stale, it's boring. And now we've got a manager in there that's going to focus on the youth and inject nothing but high energy pressing, high octane passing, high speed, P&P through its core, and the football is just gonna be amazing. It's gonna be what what um Roman Abramovich wanted in his era is what is happening right now under Pochettino. And I feel like Sterling deserved those two goals. I think they were amazing goals, especially the first one. And I feel like for me, he deserved it because he didn't have a good run last season. I felt like last season was a toxic atmosphere for Chelsea, and it's been toxic for a good couple years now. And to have a solid winger like Sterling leave Man City to come to Chelsea, there would have been a lot of expectations on his shoulders for him to deliver. But I feel like if you don't have the players around him and you don't have the right atmosphere, then that player's not going to prosper. We see it at United with the likes of Jadon Sancho or Marcus Rashford. These men aren't delivering, and I feel like that is the same with Sterling. Now that Pochettino's in there, he's creating that vibe. He's got the young players, which therefore means that he can mold them in his image. And you've got the likes of Sterling, Thiago Silva, that are the older guys that's got that winning mentality that can shed that knowledge onto these young guys. You guys are definitely going to flourish. I'm happy for Jackson Martinez to get that goal. It was a brilliant cross from Sterling, and I just feel like he needed that goal to kickstart his obvious career, because the longer you start being that number 9, and the longer weeks and weeks has gone past and you're not scoring, you start to doubt yourself. And for a big club like Chelsea, you need to have a solid number 9, and the weight is always going to be on his shoulders. And I feel like the longer weeks have gone by and you're not scoring, you're going to be thinking, oh, here we go again, another Torres, another Andrei Shevchenko situation. But, for me, the guy's still raw and he's still young and he's able to develop, learn, and grow. And I feel like with the right guys around him, the right creativity, he will be able to kickstart. And I was happy for him to score that goal. And I feel like that match was a turning point for you guys. As I said, it doesn't matter of the opposition, because I feel like the games, the 3 games that you guys have had, there's been a knocking on the door in terms of your performances, and I feel like you needed that one game to just turn up and deliver, and that was the game last weekend. Um, so I felt like I don't want to take the shine from your team. I know you got a lot to say, so to tell me what you felt about your team, because I definitely enjoy what I've been seeing lately.
I'm gonna start with the positives. For me, I think even though it was Luton at home, I think it was the first time where we played a full 90 minutes and I feel like we controlled the game. There was a little bit in the second half where they had some chances and stuff, but we stuck strong. It's great to get a clean sheet finally. It's great to score 3 goals. We rarely won in the bridge in the last season. And the thing with Sterling as well, when you mention him, is he was playing multiple positions last season that he wasn't even comfortable with. And I think it's about time that a manager's listening to him and telling him, listen, if you get the ball, run at guys. And you're seeing the Sterling that was so potent at Man City and Liverpool. And with that first goal, when he got the ball, all his thought was just to run at that guy. And you could see that was kind of like Hazard-esque in the way he ran through, and a nice little delicate finish to finish off the first goal. And for me, I think that's what we need from Sterling, because he's the older statesman of the attacking core. So he needs to be the one to turn up, to show up, especially because the other guys aren't gonna be as clinical as he is. So I think him getting those 2 goals was amazing. I think yeah, the first goal was amazing. The second goal was really good as well. Uh got a shout out to Gusto. Um, Everything and more that we need him to be. With Reece James out, we have a guy that can slip in, and it's like nothing's changed. It's like that right side was working like clockwork the whole game. Everything positive we had was coming down that right side with Gusto and Sterling. And I think that right side is patterned for the next couple seasons in terms of the way we can play. Even when Reece James goes down, we have a guy that's not just as good and doesn't allow the levels to go down. So it was great just to see someone who can get assists, who overlaps, who does the things that Reece James can do at that kind of level. And and thank you for the fantasy points as well, Gusto. Yeah, I had him in my team. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
And then
man.
yeah, for the third goal, I just gotta say wow to Enzo. Like um he got he got the ball 2 touches over the top into Sterling. Sterling whips it through to Jackson, and Jackson with the finish. And for me, That was the kind of finish that we didn't have last season. We didn't have a striker that was willing to make those runs. When we had Havertz up front or others up front, they weren't willing to get into the box like that. And if Sterling made that whip last season, it would have just been a missed opportunity, and we would be still two nil up and worrying about them maybe scoring a goal towards the last couple of minutes. But getting those two goals in quick succession just ended the game. It allowed us just to play comfortable for the rest of the game. And I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing from the right side. But for me, the only thing that I can say negative is that left side isn't there yet, in my opinion. I don't like seeing Chilwell playing the left wing. The one time that he had opportunity to strike a goal, man tried to pass. Man was in
Yeah, I
the middle
saw
of the
that.
box, middle of the
Yeah.
box,
He was open as well, fam.
open,
I was like,
open wide.
what?
Just hit it. Even with your weaker foot, you could have got just hit the target that could have gone in. But man would try to pass to Sterling. I don't know what he's thinking. But yeah, we need that left side pattern because even though Mudrik is fast, he's very raw. And I think in order for us to have a balanced attack, that's why I think we're looking for that 10 that can play the wing, because we need that 10 on that can play that left wing side. Um, and if we can get someone that has output as well, that can be creative, that can score goals on that left side, I think our attack will be more balanced. Because that's the only thing that's stopping us from being a great team. We're a good team, but we're not great yet because we have a few holes. The defense was solid. I like what I'm seeing from the defense. Obviously, I would like to go to a four at the back at some point, but obviously with Thiago Silva, you need to do the five at the back, and I think Lavio's not 100% ready yet, so we can't have that three in midfield. That would add a bit more solidity, so we can do the four at the back. And yeah, overall, I think it was a great game for us. I think it kickstarts a very easy run for us of 4 or 5 games where we're playing against teams that we should beat. We got the Capital One Cup game on Wednesday, then another simple game against I think Nottingham Forest or someone like that. So all these games are teams that are below us at the moment. So I think we just have to create momentum and have a 4 or 5 winning run. And the other important thing is we need to get that left-sided cam attacker in the door uh, over the duration of this last couple of days of the window. It's looking like Cucurella is gonna go, so we've got our two left backs in Chilwell and Matson, which I'm happy about because I didn't want to lose both of the youngsters. We lost Lewis Hall, but I didn't want to lose Matson as well. So it's looking like he's gonna be staying, which is a good thing. And yeah, it's just overall just that left side that I'm a bit worried about. But overall, we played well. Our midfield looks solid. And we haven't added all the pieces yet. And the thing about it is a lot of people would laugh at our bench, but we have 9 injuries and we're still able to dominate a game like that and still win a game comfortably. So imagine those 9 players come back into the squad over the time. Imagine this team with Nkunku in it. For me, if Nkunku was here from the start, I think we'd be on 9 points because the way we've been playing over the course of these games, we've just needed attackers to be a bit more clinical in all the games, and for the first time they were. Sterling turned up. He's been playing absolutely amazing. This is probably some of the best version of Sterling I've seen in a couple years. Even towards the back end of his City career, he wasn't doing these things. So it's good to see that he's fit. It's good to see that he's hungry again. You heard it from his interview. He's trying to be obsessed with football again. He's 28. He knows this is his prime time. This is his chance to do something in a club, be the main guy, be that Don Dada that can push a team to win something and shut up the haters. Because he's one of the best wingers in the Premier League history. He's got 100+ goals. He's got many assists, and I think people need to put more respect on his name overall. And I think if he can show up and show out this season, get 20 goals, something like or a lot along like in all competitions or 20, 25 goals and actually be the main guy, I think people will start to put respect on his name again. But yeah, man, I'm happy, good win. But we just moved to the next one. We just need to keep on winning because around the November, December time is when we get the difficult fixtures. So I want us to be in good form when we get into those difficult fixtures. So by the time we play the big teams, we're positive. We got all our players back. We're playing great football, and I'm happy what Poch is doing. And you can see that the managers that are playing a certain style of football are doing well, and they're not focused on on certain factors and things like that. So I think if you look around the league, the managers that have an identity, a style of play, are the ones winning games, and the ones that are just doing whatever they feel necessary, trying to shoehorn players in and stuff like that. You can see that they're not playing as well. So thank God, because last season we were terrible, and this has been a 180. And I'd just like to say thanks to our owners, because the clear out is sensational. The amount of players that we've sold for decent money over the past of this summer, we've changed our team completely. This is a team that I couldn't recognize 12 months ago, and I think it's great that we have ownership that does these things, because if you look around the league, not many owners are going to be like that, willing to change the team 180 just to make sure that the next season's better. So it's good start. I think we've played well in all three games in periods, and we just need to pattern the whole 90 minutes. I think the next couple games we need the whole 90 minutes of domination. I don't want teams to breathe. I don't want teams to get chances. I want us just to dominate, because in order for us to get top 4 or 5, we're gonna need to be that good. Because you look, teams are getting scalps, teams are dropping points, and the race for top 5 is gonna be intense.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Especially with the Sterling man. Honestly, people are thinking that he was dusted, he was finished, but this season he's proven that he's not, and he's got a bit of fight in him, which is good. Speaking of a little bit of fight, we move on to the match that I wanted to discuss, which was Manchester United at home against Nottingham Forest. Now, Liverpool obviously had a good comeback. United had a good comeback. That match was probably the first match that Bruno Fernandes finally actually stood up tall and actually delivered in a big game when it actually mattered. You know, United started off very poorly. They got bullied in every department. Their defense was all over the place. That Taiwo brother that used to play for Liverpool, uh, people had their doubts thinking that he actually wouldn't do well in the Premier League, but he's actually breaking records for Nottingham Forest right now this season. He did well last season and he's doing well again this season as well. So he's been tormenting defenses, and United was no different. Honestly, there was no structure in their play in that first half. There was no, like, it was like the players didn't know each other. They didn't know what to do. They didn't have any ideas. The defense was all over the place. Martinez got ripped. Varane was nowhere to be seen. Onana was a liability. All he did was just bark out orders to his defense. It was just a calamity. And, you had rival fans, getting gassed, getting excited, thinking this is a great meme, United's in a bin. And then all of a sudden, Ericsson scored. And then Casemiro scored. And then Bruno Fernandes with the penalty scored. And then all of a sudden, United came back and they ended up winning that game. And I don't know what happened in that second half. I don't even know what happened in terms of the first goal going in. But for me, I just felt like they found their hunger in that game. Once Ericsson scored that goal, it was like there was a lift. There was like a determination, a hunger for them to actually perform in front of their fans. It was a game that Anthony actually performed well in that game, and he actually could have scored an amazing goal, like a sort of like a Anya Robin type of goal. And the problem with United right now is I don't think the manager knows what his first team 11 is. And I feel like he's having to put Mason Mount in that team because of the amount of money that's been spent. But I feel like you wouldn't have to put him in your team if you had known, or if you had an idea of the players that should have been purchased to begin with. I feel like if this guy had any sort of IQ when it comes to talent and players, United wouldn't be struggling the way that they are. I just feel like the midfield is just too easy to get past. We talk about Liverpool being too easy in midfield, but at least we got some sort of structure in there. But there's no structure in that midfield. And there's no structure in defense. No one's leading at the back. It just feels like Onana's spending more time trying to lead that defense than the actual defenders themselves. And then you got the midfielders that are trying to do a job, but you got two midfielders that are practically the same, trying to do the same thing, but they're on top of each other. And then because of that reason, you're leaving Casemiro by himself to be isolated. And a player that's in his 30s trying to trap back or trying to cover the distance in this league is just not going to happen when you have strong, fit players like Nottingham Forest that's just going to keep on running. You're going to tire that midfield out. Then you got Marcus Rashford. Fair play to him beating his player for the Ericsson goal, but he's not doing it consistently. Then you got Marcus Rashford that was nowhere to be, not Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial that was nowhere to be seen in that game. Again, non-existent. I just don't know where the identity is. Because Margie was talking about you can identify a team by their style of play. Tottenham straight away. You know what type of football that they're trying to play. Chelsea straight away. We all know about Liverpool, so I don't even need to mention them. Even Man City, even Newcastle. But when you look at the likes of United, you don't know what they're trying to play. You don't. And when my man first came in, you instantly saw it straight away. But now I just don't know if he has any confidence in the football that he's trying to replicate at United, or whether the players that he has bought in to the idea of what he's trying to produce on a pitch. It's just a struggle, and I feel like United haven't really played anyone noticeable at the moment. But I feel like as the weeks progress and they come up against a real Don Dada team, the likes of the Chelsea, Cities, Liverpools, even Tottenham, you like they will struggle. They will struggle because Nottingham Forest, not to discredit them, they are a good team, but to allow Man United to come back like that is unforgivable. That shouldn't have happened, especially when you're in cruise control and dominating them the way that you did. Maybe it was complacency, I don't know. But against a better team that knows how to blitz a team and just be compact and just allow the team to come onto them and just break on the counter at will, United are going to struggle. They will. And I feel like that was a warning shot for United that if they don't fix up on a training ground or they don't go out and buy who they need to buy, it's going to be a very long season for them. It will be. And it's scary times for United right now. If I was a United fan in that stadium, or if I was a United fan, I wouldn't be gassed at the fact that I came back and won. I'd be worried that a team like Nottingham Forest came to my turf at home and spun me the way that they did in those first few minutes, I'd be worried because if it was against the likes of a bigger team, they would have got spun at least 3-4 nil in the first few minutes, the way that and they would not have been able to have come back. So I feel like they've got 3 days to rectify their issue right now. And from what I've seen in the rumor mill, I don't see them signing anyone right now. And I saw that Harry Maguire is officially gonna be staying as well, so it's even more gonna be a bants for them this season. So yeah, watch this space, man. What was your thoughts, Margie? Man, was you laughing at what was going on? And I wanna find out, at the end of the game, what's your thoughts and your predictions for them within the last 3 days of the transfer window and beyond that.
Um, with the actual game in hand, they just got hit in the mouth early on with the two goals. That Taiwo, I think, to be honest, I think he's gonna force himself to move to a bigger club because he looks like a Drogba type of striker, that kind of physical beast kind of striker. Hell, I think he's the type of striker that United need right now because the guy they bought is got back problems, so you can only play once time a week. So maybe they need to bring him in. But um, in terms of like the first goal was just a counter attack, and let's be honest, if the guy that you're one on one with is Rashford y- and you're Taiwo, you're definitely out muscling him, and it was just too easy. The keeper was already sitting down before you even kicked the ball. I don't know what Onana was doing for that first one. The second one was just terrible defending overall. But the thing is, I would say this. They looked a lot better than the last two games because I think with Ericsson in play, he's a little more defensive minded than Mount is. So it made more sense in terms of it suited better in the overall team. And when they came back, Ericsson was the one who's got the first goal. And then I think it was great for them to come back the way they did. This is the kind of performance you want to see away from home rather than at home. Like you can't be conceding 2 goals in 5 minutes. That shouldn't happen at home, especially for a team that wants to dominate the ball, wants to be the bigger team compared to Nottingham Forest. And I think the main issue for me is they have a lot of holes in their team. For me, they don't really have an out and out striker. You can't rely on Marshall because he gets injured. Can't Hoyland is we haven't seen him yet, so hopefully he can show something. Rashford can only work on the left. Him down the middle he's basically neutralized, so he looks a lot better on the left. Anthony on the right is just a fidget spinner, spin round, 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 and doesn't really do much. Um, and then Bruno Fernandes showed up today, but like he shows in the little games. I'll give him that. When it comes to the smaller games, when the smaller teams, he can get his goals. He'll get his penalty here and there, get a couple assists. But in the bigger games, he doesn't show up. So it's a kind of thing where you're like, okay, you show up most games, but you need him to show up every game, kind of thing. He needs to be a 7, 8 out of 10 every game. He needs to be that captain, that talisman for them. And I think Ericsson can't last the whole season in that position next to Casemiro, so they need like an Amrabat or someone of that ilk to stand alongside Casemiro to allow the attacking players to have the freedom to go forward and dominate play. So if they're gonna do this 4-2-3-1, which they're doing, they need another solid DM alongside Casemiro because he hasn't got the legs that he used to. And Luke Shaw being injured, they forced themselves to go into the market for left backs. And let's be honest, it's not a great market. They're looking at Marcus Alonso, Cucurella, Reguilon. Um, they were even looking at Ryan Bertrand, who's on a free. So they're looking like they're gonna get Cucurella. So yeah, that's a bit weird. They're looking at Hoiberg, which I think is when Amrabat's available, you're going for Hoiberg. I mean, like, come on. Like, I understand you've seen it. Like this, the thing about Ten Hag is he identifies players by how they played in the Dutch league or when he's been around them. It's never when it's never a player outside of that. Any player outside of that, he's like, no, I don't see him. But Mount Dutch league, Anthony Dutch league, Malaysia Dutch league. It's like all he knows is the Dutch league. And if they played in the Dutch league and he saw them, he's like, oh, he looks all right. Let me bring him in. But it doesn't work because you need a scouting. Your scouts look around the league, and when Ragnick was there, he was the players that he was touting. The fact is, United could have had Caicedo, could have had Enzo, could have had uh Haaland, could have had all these type of quality players, but they didn't listen to him. And he was meant to be your future sporting director kind of type of role, and that's what Ten Hag needs. He needs someone to make the decisions for him. It's similar to Klopp. If Michael Edwards wasn't there, Liverpool wouldn't be with the position they are in over the last kind of 5 years where they've won everything, won every single competition. Because you see now, Klopp doesn't have the ID that you need in order for the Premier League to work, right? Because when he's identifying these guys, he's bringing in players that don't work for his system and then shoehorning them in positions that they don't play. So that's why you need a sporting director, and you can see the struggles from Liverpool because they've had sporting directors in a certain amount in couple years. This third one isn't good, and Man United have none. So you see the frailties in the team because they don't have anyone to pick these players out. You have when you're a manager, you have a certain type of player that you want. A sporting director would tell you, okay, I'll get you the profiles, I'll show you these are the analytics of what this player can do for you, and you'll get the best team possible. But because Ten Hag's doing every single role, he's just got an unbalanced team, and it's just not going to work in the long run. Really, I don't think it's going to work. Mount's injured for a while. Varane looks like he's injured, so who knows who Martinez is going to play alongside, and it's going to be a difficult season. They got Arsenal next, so I think that might be a battering, because I don't think they can cope with what Arsenal can do. So, but yeah, I think overall a good comeback win, but there's a lot of problems in that team, and it's changed my mind on how I view the top six. Because the way they've played these first three games, I don't see any bright lights for them in the future in terms of making top four, top five, because it just unbalanced, and I don't think they're gonna get in the right players in these last few days. Uh, they're looking at the players they're looking at look like panic buys to me, and it's just panic stations really. So that's what I look at it. So it's gonna be hard to see where they go next.
Yeah, I agree. Well, they've also got a bigger 3 days coming up. Speaking of which, your defense is in trouble, and Nketiah's in the room. And then Nketiah now has scored again. He scored again. He's hungry and he's ready. And Arteta said it. He said it in the interview. He's seen Nketiah's been training hard. He's been training so hard that Gabriel Jesus can't even get into the team now. And you know what? Fair play to him. I was a guy that was saying, why are you guys not playing but Balogun? I've always rated Balogun ahead of Nketiah. I've always thought that he was a better player. But again, Arteta stuck to his laurels. They got rid of him. 40 M's plus a sell-on clause as well. Smart piece of business. And they've stuck with Nketiah. When many people are saying that they should have got rid of him last year, again, Arteta's kept with him, and Nketiah is repaying the favor. My only downside with Arsenal, and it was evident in the last two games now, is that this system of playing Thomas Partey at that right back role is not benefiting them at all. And there's only a few teams that can get away with an inverted fullback or midfielder going into fullback positions. And obviously we know Liverpool and City are the masters of playing that because they've got technically gifted players who can slot in and slot out. Arsenal don't have technical ballers like that can do that. Partey he's not mobile. He's a rigid player that prefers to be in midfield and get stuck into tackles. He doesn't have the pace to run back and forth. He doesn't have the engine, and he doesn't have the technical ability in order to ping the balls from right back straight into centre mid. They don't. Then on top of that, you're asking a guy like Ben White to cover a player like Thomas Partey. Ben White doesn't have the pace. And it's clear as day that last season he was getting ripped left, right, and centre when he was playing at right back. He was terrible. So now you got two liabilities in positions where they just don't want to play. That right hand side is going to be easy pickings for anyone who have fast paced left wingers. Someone like a Matoma, someone like a Luis Diaz, like if Mudryk was available for Chelsea, someone like him, like anyone fast on that left hand side, it's long seasons for Arsenal. And I feel like Mikel Arteta's playing the wrong type of game right now. You had the whole of the back end of last season, and you had pre-season to do this rotational pieces, to do this new type of formation. And I think them doing it now just doesn't make sense to me. And I get why you're doing it, because you want to try and incorporate Kai Havertz, but no one told you to go after Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz wasn't the type of player that you actually needed. You needed someone that could convert into a 6 and 8 position. You know, Caicedo was there for the taking. You could have gone after him. Nico Barella is available. You could have gone for him. Even hell, even Lavia. You know, there's guys out there that you guys could have got, and you're trying to shoehorn a player that's typically a cam, a false nine, into a CM position, and it's just not working. You guys don't look the same in midfield like you did last season because you had the balance of Xhaka and Partey. You lost that now. And I feel like the midfield, again, it's the same story that we've been talking about. Is the midfield issue, the midfield issue, United midfield issue, Liverpool midfield issue, Arsenal. There's a lot of unbalance there in all these teams, and I feel like if Arsenal will most likely win that game against United, but I just feel like if they come up against a team like a Newcastle, like a City, like a Chelsea, that's obviously got a decent midfield, that's got structure in there, like a Newcastle, as I said, it's gonna be long for Arsenal right now. And I feel like these games, they're really grinding out results, and they're really getting pushed to their limits right now, you know. And it was a fantastic game by against Fulham, to be honest with you. I enjoyed that game, and Paulinho should be on Liverpool's shortlist because I really like the guy. He's neat and tidy in possession. He knows how to pass the ball, and that whole match was a man of the match performance by him. If it wasn't for Paulinho controlling that midfield, getting into the tackles, reading the game correctly, you know, Arsenal probably would have won that game. They would have, but João Paulinho was there every minute, and he was tidy, and he was putting in a CDM performance that Liverpool should be going after and targeting. And I just feel like, for me, as I said, if on a different day against a bigger team, it it, it would have been a problem for Arsenal. And I just feel like Arteta needs to stop being stubborn, and I think he needs to get rid of this formation or whatever he's trying to accomplish with Thomas Partey at right back, and Ben White trying to cover him. He needs to get rid of all of that, and I just feel like he needs to revert back to what made his team look good last season, because right now the decisions that he's been making on the pitch and off the pitch doesn't make sense. You know, to get rid of uh Kieran Tierney the way that he did, who was a solid left back for them, it just doesn't make sense. You know, putting Tommy Yasu there, it just doesn't make sense. You know, like I'm struggling to find out what Arsenal are trying to do this season. I have no hopes for Arsenal this season, but I don't know. What do you think about your London rivals, Margie? You know, what was your thoughts on the game? Because for me, Arsenal are really riding their luck right now.
Yeah, they haven't been good the first three games. They've riding the luck in terms of the results. They got 7 points, which you know they should be having nine. I think home to Fulham, you can't be so complacent. I think Starboy Saka hasn't been good so far this season, and you saw it by the back pass. I mean, it was a wild back pass into Pereira, and then you have your goalkeeper stuck in no man's land. And to be honest, it was a scuff shot, and it just trickled in. Um, and I think most of that game, yeah, it was very unbalanced from the team. I think the funny thing is, the biggest issue is that the guy that they brought in to play that right back role got injured in what's his name, is it Timber?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Timber.
yeah, Timber. So I think not expecting that and not having a guy that can play that right back role and forcing Party to do it. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to do the thing where they have four centre backs, one can invert and stuff like that, and it's that Man City kind of style of play, but their midfield isn't balanced enough for it to work. And the thing I think should happen is they needed to get a left centre mid that's similar to Xhaka, that has more defensive minded. because having Havertz and Odegaard, they're too attacking minded for that system. Because Partey going into midfield is okay, but on the defensive end, when you look at like Havertz and Odegaard, if they lose the ball, they're not tracking back. They're not busting the gut. Havertz is probably walking back, and that's causing the problems that you see in the defensive end. And I think also Nketiah should have started for them, and also the other thing about Havertz is that Fabio Vieira looked like he was doing more when he had the ball as well. When he came on, he was a difference maker as well, and I think he should start next couple of games. But yeah, the two goals were good. Um, yeah, first goal was the penalty. Um, just Fabio Vieira getting in there, trying to, and then causing the foul, and then the second goal, the whip into Nketiah, that was a beautiful pass. Havertz wasn't doing that the whole game, and the thing is, I understand you spent 65 million on him, but sometimes you've got to understand that you took an L, and sometimes you just got to take him out the squad because he's the one thing is there's a lot of people, a lot of fans that are mixed on him. He's causing more problems in the midfield in terms of the balance, and also as a club, you don't want the thing of, oh, is Havertz going to play well today or not? Is he going to play good or not? You know, you don't want that kind of festering around the squad in the social media sphere because that gets to the players, that gets to him as an individual. And I think he's low on confidence because last season he didn't play well. And the start of this season, you can see that he's a shell of what he was in his Bayern Leverkusen days. And I think they should have been trying to start him off the bench initially and integrate him to the squad slowly. Because sometimes with these new signings, if they've come up of a bad run, they can't play straight away because they're just not on that confidence level. You've seen it through the preseason, through now. There's not been a performance where you can say, "Oh, he's been amazing. He's been 8 out of 10." He's giving you a 6, maybe a 7, mostly threes and fours. So I think he's not the main issue. I think the main issue is the wings. They're not doing well. Martinelli and Saka don't look good. Um, I just don't think overall the team has that kind of attacking flair that they did last season. Because last season they started on the house on fire. They were dominating teams. Both the wings were bombing forward. You kind of saw what they were trying to do, and these changes, I don't know if it's going to work for the team that are for the players and squad that Arsenal have, and they've let a lot of players go. I don't understand why they took Gabriel off because the partnership of Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes was perfect last season. It's like when it's not broke, don't fix it. I think Arteta in this essence is thinking too much about it because Ben White as centre back doesn't work in my opinion. You can still have Partey at right back, but have your centre back partnership of Saliba and Gabriel. Have Saliba be the one on the right side protecting Partey and that side. That would work better because one, he's quick. Two, he's one of the best defenders in the league in terms of his age group and in position. And their partnership worked last season. Then you can have whatever you want on the left back and still have, and maybe the system works better because you have Saliba on the left centre back that doesn't work. He's not comfortable there. You have Ben White right centre back. He's not good there. And then you just have a unbalanced defense, unbalanced midfield, and it just kind of like conjoles together in a way that just doesn't seem right. So maybe it might work better when Zinchenko's back. But the other thing is Gabriel leaving? Because there's been loads of rumors about him going to Saudi. So I don't know if it's a thing of maybe Arteta's cutting him off, but I don't know why. And yeah, two great goals, and then just the lapse of concentration at the end of the game for the corner. Like, come on, like you can't let a guy like that free in the middle of the box. He just had the world at his feet and shot it into a corner, and he got the draw for Fulham. Um, but yeah, I think with Arsenal, I just think that and Arteta, they've changed too many things, and I can see the vision. It's just the wrong players in the wrong positions. So I just think they need to get the centre back partnership back, keep Partey at that right back position, get Zinchenko at left back when he's back fit, and then maybe change out Havertz for now for Fabio Vieira and see how that works, and having Ketty up front alongside the two wingers and see how that works and see if that's better. And if Fabio Vieira isn't doing so well, then try integrate Havertz slowly, give him 20, 30 minutes, let him kind of get back his confidence, get back into the swing of things. And I think if they can bring in another midfielder, that would be great. But I don't think they're looking at anyone at the moment. I don't see any rumors of them. They look more like they're trying to sell players than buy. So which I don't get. They do need they do need attackers. They do need a midfielder, but I don't think they're trying to sign anyone. So I think it's going to be a long season for them. But I think they'll still be up there. I just think they just need to get over these teething pains of trying to force things, and Arteta just needs to go back to basics and play the way they were playing last season, because you're not Pep Guardiola. So let's be honest here. You're the cone man. Yeah, so do the basic thing. Yeah, basic 4-3-3 thing that you were doing last season because it worked. But man's trying to do this inverted. Like, come on, man. These guys can't do it. You've seen it 3 games in a row. You've seen it in preseason. They just can't do it. You just need to get back to basics. But yeah,
It's
that's all I
it's
gotta
true.
say. And yeah, man, it's always a great weekend when Arsenal drop points. Agenda must run.
It's true. And always remember, your defense is in trouble.
And get
And
yours in the
Ketia's
room. Hey, that's a great song. Fulham's defense was in trouble though. I ain't gonna lie. That was a quality finish by him.
it was still, I'm not gonna lie. Fair play to him, man. Honest, as I said, people like Nketiah, people like Sterling, they've upped their games this season. And I think they realize that they have to, because pressure is obviously going to be breathing down their necks. So, I'm happy for Nketiah. As I said, I wasn't really a believer in him. I was a believer in Balogun, but ultimately Nketiah is here, and he's proven that he's improved his finishing, and he's improved his IQ in terms of being in the final third of the box. So, you gotta give credit where credit's due. But yeah, we'll end on that. Obviously, we're coming up to that hour mark, so this is me signing out. Obviously, yeah, it's going to be an interesting 3 days for all of the big clubs and the smaller clubs as well. Can't forget them. But yeah, Margie, do you want to sign out?
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a good week. Got the transfer window closing down. Big game on the weekend, Arsenal United. So yeah, it's gonna be a good weekend of football. And yeah, man, another good episode. And we out and we about. And yeah, man, Arsenal drop points. I hope it happens again. Rashford, can you do something for me? And I'm fantasy and I'm fantasy king fam. Number one, baby.
It's true. Fuck's sake.
Wait, and we out. Bye. Ooh.
Hold that.